Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Cases. I'm Shant Kerbabian. Many factors are threatening the peace of the society today. One of these factors is the issue of religious intolerance among the people. Without mincing words, it is an issue of great concern in the world, today being prevalent in educational institutions at all levels, communities, local government areas, towns, states, and among countries. The issue of religious intolerance is having several consequences in the society. Many wars had been fought within and among countries in the world, which could be traced to religious intolerance among the people. There had also been many terrorist attacks in the world due to this. It is disturbing to note that several lives had been wasted while valuable properties destroyed due to this issue. What is the notion of religious intolerance and what effects it is having on our world? What are the causes of religious intolerance and its effects in the Middle East? With us tonight to discuss this issue in the studio is Mr. Assaad Chaftari, an ex-fighter and civil peace activist. Welcome, Mr. Assaad.
Thank you.
And also we'll be having via satellite from Syria, Ms. Aliaa Mahfouz, a political activist. Welcome, Aliaa.
Good evening.
Now, before we start our discussion, we have a report. Let's check it out.
Religious intolerance, in a certain sense, is not new to human history. The use of force and the practice of faith have long been closely and disturbingly associated. Even though social scientists have spoken about the difference between correlation and causation, the fact that violence and religion have often been co-occurring, conditions to serve prejudice, discrimination, and sometimes clashes are terrifying and unanswerable. The question of why religious beliefs motivate and abide violence is not readily answerable. And religious intolerance in our own time is resistant to quick fixes, which increases the probability of human rights violations. In this context, the United Nations upholds the right to free expression of religious belief in Articles 18 and 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article 2 of the same declaration clearly forbids the discrimination on the basis of religion. Article 18 also allows the freedom to change religion. The declaration is not legally binding, however, and shockingly, the United States chose in 1998 to pass the International Religious Freedom Act, creating the Commission of International Religious Freedom and mandating that the United States government takes action against any country found to violate the religious freedoms outlined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Given that religious freedom is so vital for peace and security, how do we get governments to promote respect for religious freedom? After much debate, the United Nations passed the UN Human Rights Council Resolution 16/18, which calls for states to protect citizens and their right to free expression while promoting respect for religious differences.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Assaad, our topic today is religious intolerance. There is no clear definition of this notion. I mean, people trace it to, and people can talk about it as describing the absence of being or unwilling to put up with other people's beliefs. And we can trace this to even biblical history. And it is as old as the existence. Now, what can we say about this notion, religious intolerance?
Well, I would go a little bit deeper in history, I think. It goes back to our ancestral existence, I mean, when they had to survive. And in order to survive, they had to beware of anything new that came to their environment. And in that case, each person or each group of persons that felt that they were in danger and that that danger might become stronger than them, they went and joined a larger group and so on in order to form tribes, tribes that could protect them. And anybody or any person who comes from outside this tribe would be a potential danger that should be observed closely. And anything wrong or unusual that he would or she would do would be classified, if you like, as dangerous. So this is how it started, I think.
Okay.
It did not start in religion.
But going back to the core of the subject today, which is religious intolerance. I mean, from what you explained, like throughout history, and it has to do with survival. But how could religion affect our survival?
Well, first of all, we as a human, I don't know from where we had this idea that we have to defend our deity, God or whoever we adore and believe in. And this fact gives us some sacred rights and sacred also mission to defend what comes from God and what God is giving us directly to us. And since the idea of starts in being what I believe in is right and whatever the others believe in is wrong, this brings me to the conclusion that I should protect what I believe in and weaken what the others believe in.
But this is pure human instinct, because what religion teaches us, like if you look at all religions, it's all about love and peace and coexistence. Yet we have genocides in the name of religion. We have crimes and we have wars in the name of religion. What explains this?
I'll tell you what. The idea of faith and religion is heavenly and addresses higher human beings.
Okay.
But we are not higher human beings. We are merely human beings, and we can understand things wrongly. And we mostly are understanding things the wrong way. This is why we are acting and reacting the way we are doing.
Where is the problem here? Like, we are understanding things in the wrong way due to what?
Due of our human nature and our instincts and our history and our fear and our hatred, and many factors enter into this pot, if you like, that make of us the beasts that are ready to do anything to defend our tribe.
But don't you think, like, at one point, religious institutions have a role here to play, promoting coexistence? Like we refer to religious institutions for more understanding, and there is a very important and sometimes dangerous role they play in promoting coexistence, or the opposite.
I doubt that the major religious institutions, I mean, are spreading hatred. They speak of their own religion, maybe they speak in a good way. They try to explain to us normal humans that we should be good people, etc., etc. The rest is mostly done by society or by misled people.
Okay. Now, allow me now, Mr. Assaad, to go to my guest in Syria via satellite, Ms. Aliaa Mahfouz. Ms. Aliaa, welcome and thank you for joining us in Cases. Ms. Aliaa, we see the world going towards extremes right now, talking about politics and mainly religion, since our show today is about religion and religious intolerance. We see everything going extreme. Moderate voices are being shut off. And what are the consequences of this?
Well, first, good evening, everyone. I would like to echo what Dr. Assaad was saying about his analysis of religious intolerance. Yes, this is one side of it. But it has another side, which is sort of political and economic on the other side. Like, for example, like people are okay, the instinct of survival is over. And if we go back to recent history or even ancient history, we can find that using religious religious beliefs and religion in general as a medium to control and spread hegemony over other countries. Like the Ottoman Empire, they used Islam. The Crusaders used Christianity. Zionists used Judaism. So in this case, like, you are spreading your hegemony over other states, over other people's lands. You're controlling people's instincts, and you're controlling them to enter a war for your own benefits, for your own economic, or political benefits, using the religious medium. And that's very evident now in the so-called Arab Spring, which is largely affected by religious reasons.
We will go to the effect the Arab Spring had on religious intolerance, on this factor. But let me go back to my initial question, which was about extremism. I need to take your observations, I need to take your comment about this, because as we notice right now, everything is going towards extreme. You're either extreme or you are nothing, and we wipe you out.
Yes, they are polar. People are now polar. Either you're extremely religious and radical, or you're extremely, like atheist or agnostic, whatever. So when you have two different poles, it's very easy to control. And you don't have like a moderate class in between.
And what's happening to moderate voices? I mean, we're seeing everywhere, like in Lebanon, for example, moderate voices are being shut off. In Syria, in a lot of countries around in the Middle East, every moderate voice is not welcome.
Well, it is welcome, but the thing is, like, you're going to look for who's supporting the two extremes. Okay, like when the two extremes are supported by a lot of media channels, a lot of finance, a lot of everything, the moderates are not on the surface. Like, we have lots of moderates. It's illogical not to have any moderate in between, but they're not like on screen a lot, or they're not on media a lot. So, and for me, like, if I'm supporting one extreme part, whether really radical or whether really atheist or whatever, so if you're supporting them, you'll try to shut off all these moderate voices. Let me just take so it's easy for you to control.
Yeah, just let me focus on one more point, Aliaa, is that it's not only in the Middle East and it's in this region, it's also in the United States and in the UK. And like, there was a research recently, the Pew Research, and it showed that religious intolerance that even exists right now, even more in the United States, against all religions. And specifically, I would like to mention, like, for example, the Muslim faith, the Muslim community in the United States faces a lot of problems in building mosques, in implementing certain laws. So this thing also exists in the West. It's not only this region.
Yes, of course, because, like, you're going to look for and find out who's supporting the extremes. Like, you can say, like, the report you were showing was saying that the United States government has a law or act.
Exactly, I was going to refer that.
Yes, exactly. So to interfere in any country that is, you know, like, intolerating religions. But shockingly enough, now, like, in many cases, the United States government, alongside other governments, are interfering, but by aiding people who are not tolerating any religions.
Correct. I'll go back now to you, Mr. Assaad.
Yes.
Mr. Assaad, I was talking about how extremes and how moderate voices are being shut down. One of the recent cases we witnessed is the assassination of the Minister Mohammed Chaftari in Lebanon, which was considered one of the moderate voices in Lebanon. What are your comments on that incident?
Yeah, but I'm not really sure that he was killed because he is moderate. Maybe because he is part of a group.
Exactly, I'm not referring to that.
This is different.
I'm not referring to that at all.
What I would comment is the following. I mean, when you are asking for people to shout, to hear each other, those who shout the most are those who are most respected by their own, because they are those who are protecting them, who are demanding more for their rights, and so on. While the moderate are by their nature, I mean, more introverted. They don't have, they don't feel the need to shout. I mean, in general, so they form what we call the silent majority in general.
And this is one of the scariest things. The silent majority is even more dangerous, because these people are the people who are silent are people who are not taking any action towards things they're seeing wrong.
Yeah, but at a certain level, they stop to be able to do anything, because the extremists take the streets, carry the weapons, become the leaders of the political parties, while the moderate cannot do it and will not do it by a decision in general, by their own decision. You see, so it's very, very normal.
So some political powers are benefiting from extremism.
Yes, of course. Of course they are, but at the end they'll find themselves as those who lost the most, because they will be replaced by the extremists, by the monsters that they are creating or letting grow. You see, while if they took with the moderates the leadership of the society and regulated the behaviorism, the political behaviorism, and the religious behaviorism of the society, these extremists would not appear.
Okay, allow me now to go to a break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll take a break, and after the break, we'll talk about the effect the Arab Spring had on religious intolerance and religion in general in the region. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about the notion of religious intolerance, and now I'll go to my guest in Syria, Miss Aliaa Mahfouz Ali. Miss Aliaa, I'm gonna ask you a question, and I know you're very passionate about this. I'm gonna go now and talk about the situation in Syria. We know it's a bloody war up there, but I would like to focus on the notion of religious intolerance. Like Syria presented a very harmonious society before this events took place in the country, and now we're seeing this. We're seeing violence. We're seeing extreme religious discrimination. What are your thoughts about this idea?
Well, first of all, the religious intolerance was from the very early days of the so-called revolution, or so-called Arab Spring in Syria. During the peaceful era, slogans I heard myself and many people have heard that are calling for annihilating one sect and forcing another one to leave the country. That was the first. And then when things got really heated and arms were everywhere, and weapons and all the radical behaviors were everywhere. The militias started to attack churches, attack mosques, attack shrines and graves and everything. And they are doing it very openly, not even covertly. They're trying to force their ideology. Mm-hmm. Now, the radical ideology was never welcome in Syria or the region in general, the Levant. It was never welcomed. Many radical people or radical figures were either jailed in Syria, like Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, the founder of Wahhabism, mm-hmm. or banished from Syria, like Ibn Taymiyyah. So, and many, many more. So Syria and the region was always a very harmonious place where all people from different religious backgrounds came. But now, like, since the supporters of the so-called revolution in my country, and they are the custodian, the ideological custodian, and the main the financial source of them, they believe in radical form of religion. So they're trying to impose it on Syria in order to control it, in order to, their notion is divide and conquer. Mm-hmm. So their first thing that divide the nation, depending on quantity or number of people, like you have minorities and you have majorities, and then divide the divided. So first we have Christian and Muslims, and then divide the already divided, the Muslims, divide them into different sects, and try to intense their hatred and try to wage some very bad behaviors among each other that reached even slaughtering, beheading, and very horrific actions.
And these are odd behaviors to the Syrian community. These are odd behaviors, and these are things that the Syrian people or Syrian society is not used to.
Yes, of course they are odd behaviors to this, but then, like, you can never do something without a Trojan Trojan horse inside the country. Like, okay, you have some people who are poorly educated, mm-hmm. or they are unemployed or whatever. So you get these people, you get them brainwashed, and then you send them back to the country and let them spread. Mm-hmm. Okay, spread their ideology all over. So when foreigners come to the country, they will have a hand inside.
Exactly. Ms. Ali, I would stop you here. We'll continue about this topic in a minute. But Mr. Assad, I would like to go to you right now. Yeah. And this horrific crisis going on in Syria. Lebanon had its fair share of, not exactly the same, but like similar incidents, especially when it comes to religious intolerance. And you lived this period, and you were there. You took part in some of the events that took place. Would you mind sharing your experience with us?
Yes,
please?
Of course. It's really a sad story, mm-hmm. to see, first of all, our friends and brothers, the Syrians, living today the fruits of our mistakes. And I am...
In what way?
I am awfully sorry, mm-hmm. That we have not been a good example for the Syrians. Mm-hmm. I mean, of communities being able to live together without killing each other. Mm-hmm. At the beginning of the civil war, I fought, carrying guns and fighting in the name of my religion, mm-hmm. my faith and my community, especially my community, if you like, and the way I saw Lebanon, the Christian Lebanon. Mm-hmm. But now and later on, I have discovered that it was all wrong, and that
it's an illusion.
It's completely. You know, you should realize that at the end, I mean, we are the Lebanese, and that we are killing each other today, mm-hmm. and we are acting as if I mean, in a way or another, we are going to split this country into 18 parts, which is not true and which will never happen.
And unfortunately, this is what, I don't think it's going to happen, but unfortunately, this is what the plan is for Syria as well.
Yeah, at least this is what we are hearing is the plan for Syria. You know, the main issue, I think, is the fact that when the government weakens or dismantles, now in Syria it did not dismantle, but it has weakened.
It's weakened.
So the authority weakens, and each one goes and back to his original tribe that can protect him instead of the official government. This is what is happening now.
Okay.
And those who are the most extremist and are ready to kill the most without any moral or ethical standards to care of will apparently win the most. But at the end they will be the big losers.
We will talk about this notion, but we have a report about the Arab Spring and how the effects Arab Spring had on religious intolerance in the region. Let's take a listen.
On September 2012, the International Pew Research Center conducted a research tackling religious violence and intolerance around the world. The findings were shocking, as official and unofficial hostility towards religious freedom rises in every corner in the world, including the United States, and thus the number of tolerant nations has significantly decreased. In this context, religious intolerance in the Middle East is just a part of the larger pattern. But how exactly is the level of prejudice and discrimination against people of different religion and distinctive sects? Many researchers and intellectuals across the Middle East believe that the so-called Arab Spring would bring social and political justice amid stages of corruption, and such justice will spill over into more religious tolerance. However, the Pew Research Center showed that even before the Arab Spring, government restrictions on religion and social hostilities involving religion were higher in the Middle East and North Africa than in any other region of the world. The situation got worse during the political turmoil phase. In this regard, the study concluded that restrictions in the region remained high in 2011, while social hostilities markedly increased and the number of countries in the region experiencing sectarian or communal violence between religious groups doubled from 5 to 10. For instance, the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, whose members find a haven in some parts of Syria, instituted strict Sharia laws in a number of northern Syrian towns and carried out sectarian attacks against Syrian Alawites and Christians. The question that remains is, until when will this intolerance be tolerated?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Assaad, let me go back to your story. What triggered you to go out and carry a weapon and start fighting? Is it the religion? Is it the what was it back then that made you do that?
Ignorance, misconception about the other, mainly fear, and later on hatred. These are
fear
the
and hatred. Fear of what and hatred towards what?
Fear from the other, that he will come and overthrow me and my own and reign instead. Hatred when the first clashes occurred and I saw blood and destruction and fire and everything. And hatred, you cannot control it. Once it invades you, you really have to be very immune to be able to stop it.
It became your motive.
Yes, my motive became not necessarily to kill others, but at least to defend my people, my country, my idea of the Western Lebanon, and so on.
When you say your country, you mean the idea that you had for your country back then?
My perception of of this country, my vision for this country, which was, of course, much different and very far from other visions. But now I see on a daily basis that we can have a common vision for Lebanon. Everybody can have a common vision for Lebanon, which is the human being, the well-being of any Lebanese.
But what is the reason that, like, for example, let's take the Lebanon in this case. What is the reason that the people cannot see this common ground? People cannot see that there is this ground, and people can share this, and people can coexist.
Well, at a certain level, you don't see it anymore. You see that your idea is right, the truth is only among you and your people, and whatever comes from the others is wrong, and you have to at least defend yourself against it, or to attack it and to weaken it and things like that. The solution is when you really discover that the truth is among all of us.
Okay, I would head back to Ms. Aliaa, and let's take the focus back on Syria. Ms. Aliaa, what is the thing with political turmoil and religious intolerance? For example, let's take example Iraq. We see how religious intolerance and extremism is being promoted there to fuel things more. The same thing, unfortunately, is happening right now in Syria. What is the deal here with religious intolerance and this connection with turmoil, political turmoil?
Well, as I said earlier, religion can be used as a medium or a tool to achieve political causes or political, political targets. Now, when you have people polarized and people agitated and divided into two or many groups, each one of these groups are prepared to protect and defend their own cult or their own tribe or their own religious community. They're doing the other political superpowers. They're doing them a great favor. Like for example, take Syria for example. No single American soldier came to destroy because they had their hands here. Like you have Syrians fighting each other, and they're destroying the country. They're controlling some territories. So me as an American or as a Western power, I don't have to get in and get my hands blooded. Okay, when I have somebody doing the dirty thing for me, so I don't need it. And how to achieve this? By agitating their religious feelings. So I guess this is the connection between political turmoil and religious intolerance.
Ms. Aliaa, going to the notion of extremism in Syria, I mean, a lot of people would argue that the government in Syria, even before the horrific events in Syria, didn't take any bold steps against extremism in the country. Would you agree with this notion?
Partly, I would, yes. Well, we had similar thing, but on a smaller scale during the 80s. But it was limited to only few provinces, not the entire country. So what happened then? The government did, I guess, not the right thing by making religious institutions and some suspicious preachers spread in the country. So without giving surveillance or monitoring these institutions or these suspicious people, you are giving a way for extremism to grow in your country. And that's exactly what happened, because people had, had very hard feelings since the 80s. As when they grow up, they were brainwashed. They were told and they were taught that when you kill other people or when you defend your religious cult, you're being more pious, okay, or you're doing great thing for your God or whatever, okay. And when you take spirituality out of religion, because religion or religions in general are systematic. They call for ethics, and they call for a lifestyle, and they do a lot of things. But when you want to use religion, you use the deformed, you create a deformed version of it, and you take spirituality out of it, and you focus on material. So you get those, you know, young people, and you focus like, okay, if you killed somebody who is different from your religion, you're being more pious for one, and you go to heaven and enjoy your instincts or enjoy lots of desires. Okay, so what the government did, they didn't really care much about it because there wasn't a real threat.
But it was there, Aliaa, underground. It was boiling. It wasn't boiling, but it was being prepared,
yes,
being nurtured somehow, daily, on a daily basis in the country.
That's exactly why I agree partly with it.
Okay, Ms. Aliaa and Ms. Assaad, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. After the break, we'll talk about what could be done to overcome religious intolerance. Stay tuned.
Time. Variable. Event. The only constant variable in life is change. Broader perspective. Arguments and counter-arguments on our platform.
Global Insights. The globe on our platform.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now we have some steps for reconciliation that could be taken in order to overcome the notion of religious intolerance. And the first point that I'm going to take and discuss with my guest is this: social work, or enhancing social work through education. This thing could help in overcoming religious intolerance. Now, Mr. Assaad, enhancing social work through education and engaging in social activities as well, how could this help overcoming this phenomenon?
Well, of course, bringing people together and letting them discover each other but through dialogue, through common work, etc., will help a lot for the social cohesion. And once they know each other, if they hear something about that other, they know that it's wrong or right beforehand.
And there's always this fear, like people are afraid of people are afraid of things they don't know, and they just rely on the notion they hear about other people,
about the experience of others, who did not have this experience, who heard it also from a third party.
Exactly. No one dares to go and experience by themselves.
That's right.
So that's why, like, having social activities and engaging people together would help. I would like to take Ms. Aliaa's opinion on this point. Ms. Aliaa, what do you think? Having social activities, bringing people together and engaging them together in order for people to get to know each other and see that, God, we don't have monsters, these are people.
Well, of course, I agree with this point, that social activity, either through workshops like letting people know about other people belonging to different religious sect or different religion in general. Well, we had a misconception that being sectarian is when you call people by their own, by the names of their sects. Well, this could be part of it, but being sectarian is hating people because you've heard superstitions about them, you've heard misconceptions about them. So social activities, I think would do very good favor in clarifying the reality of religion. Like a Muslim can go up and talk about their religion. A Christian can do the same. Another religion, another religious sect can do the same. Can clarify all the lies or can focus on the good things on their beliefs. That's one thing. And regarding education, we had, I'm not sure if you have it in Lebanon or in any other country. Like in school, we have the religious sect, or religious subject. So in this subject, people are divided. Like Muslims go to this class and Christians go to this class. So when you do this to people who are, very young, you're creating sort of image that this guy is different from me. Okay, so you're creating this difference very early. The Grand Mufti of Syria, Dr. Ahmed Badruddin Hassoun, had a very brave idea by replacing the religion subject by ethics or ethical education. And this coming from the highest religious profile in Syria.
And this would be a very interesting idea to maybe implement in future Syria.
Yes, of course, of course. I guess we need it. We need reconciliation workshops. We need people to get to know each other on the right way, not hearing misconception or superstition.
Exactly.
So that's why, yes.
As Mr. Assaad said, Mr. Assaad, is this thing happening in Lebanon right now? Like because Lebanon after the civil war, people were divided. Like, are we seeing nowadays activities like social activities and people engaging together?
We're seeing a lot of things done. I mean, especially at the level of schools. Schools today are working hardly, really, to bring the young people from different denominations, I mean, to know each other, to visit each other's schools, and to have summer camps, or even during the year some common days where they visit each other and know about each other and things like that. But in principle, I am not against that each person learns about his own faith. Let's call it faith first. Then he should learn about the other's faith, and then there would be the ethical part or the moral part, which is common to both of them.
Don't you think this thing should go to the church or the mosque to educate the child about his faith, about his religion, and schools should only teach about spirituality or then ethics? Or
Sunday schools or Friday schools would teach Islam and the Christian faith, and schools might teach the second.
Exactly, like the idea is, why would a school?
But I want to give you my own example. I was 45 or maybe 50 even when I learned the real things about Islam on the British BBC during a Ramadan program. And I was shocked by how badly I knew the Muslims. And because of that, I realized a documentary that is used today in some schools to teach Christians and Muslims each other faith, you see. So we need to do it, but not at 45 years old. I mean, we need to do it at an early age.
And this is where the school, this is where the education comes. This is I think is the school's role, to educate children about each other, and not to, as Ms. Aliaa said, divide from this early age and take them into different classes, and everyone should learn about his own faith or religion. Let's go to the second point. The second point is to admit prejudice and discrimination, apologize, and act. I'm gonna head this one to you right away, Mr. Assaad. Too. You were out there. You issued an apology later about the events that you took part of. We were talking about this earlier on. When was the moment when you realized and you had to admit your prejudice, and you had to come out and you had to just denounce it to people?
I'll tell you what. Of course, it was cooking for many long years. Even it started in the Civil War. But at a certain level, I heard the friend of my son saying that when he goes near a mosque with his parents, he was so disgusted that he felt like vomiting. And this was the shock of my life. This triggered what I'm in and still in today. I mean, working to bring people together, or else we will eternally kill each other. Out of ignorance, out of fanaticism, and out of prejudice.
What are the things that you are doing? Can you share with us some of the activities that you're doing now? You were talking about
mainly touring at schools, universities, clubs, etc., and telling my story, the story of someone who was innocent and became a beast and killed, and now sees things differently. I'm part in things done by many other NGOs together, working for civil peace. We launched a play about, we called it Drop of Honey, about how people can, or two villages can kill each other out of a drop of honey, because of a drop of honey. For example, a lot of things. I mean, workshops, courses, trainings, even street activities. Sometimes when we need to. Today we are launching something related to the killings due to the explosions that happened recently. Yes. I mean, and we will send it to all the politicians in Lebanon.
I have to say, Mr. Assaad, I like it takes a lot of courage to do what you did. And I personally salute you for that, and like to come out and to admit and to apologize to the Lebanese people who you did. I just have to salute you.
Can I not agree with that? I think it's my duty, you know.
Of course, but it took a lot of courage for you.
I have all what I had done in the past.
True. I'll go now to the third point, which is things that could be done to steps of reconciliation, which is reject ignorance, hatred, and violence. Educate yourself and stay informed. I'll head this one to Ms. Aliaa. Ms. Aliaa, how can someone educate themselves about the other, like if the school is not playing the part as we talked now, who should take this role, and how can you educate yourself?
Well, for a start, you should have the desire to educate yourself. But when you have it, you will go and find every possible way to do it, either via school, either via searching for the real source of the different religions or the different people belief. So when you look for it, when you consult with people, and you should know the right from the wrong. It's not rocket science after all, okay? Like you know the right and you know the wrong, and you compare them to what you hear and to what you to what you witnessed when you're dealing with people belonging to this cult. Like when you deal with these people and you compare their behavior with what you have heard or what you have seen and what you have read. So when you compare them, you try to educate yourself and know the truth about it.
Okay.
And but regarding, I'm sorry, regarding what Mr. Assaad was saying, first I salute him for this. It really does take a lot of courage to admit this. So admitting something wrong is the first step to build a generation that can avoid this wrong thing. Yeah. So I guess like people who did who were deluded or who were brainwashed or tempted of something and had the courage to admit their faults, I guess this will soothe the pains for a start and will create a great atmosphere for reconciliation.
And this is what we and I personally hope for the future of Syria. I mean, people just coming together, admitting things and letting all things go and just going for a fresh start. Now, the final point that we have here is a point actually made by you, Mr. Assaad, which is, this is the saying, you cannot annihilate one group or another. Tomorrow there will be both of you, so act accordingly. These are your words.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are very interesting. Yeah.
I'll tell you, the idea behind it comes from my own experience. I mean, during the war, we were hoping at a certain level to get rid of the others and to live alone in Lebanon. And I heard later on that others also had the same dream. I mean, to get rid of us, to throw us in the sea, and to reign in Lebanon. Well, at the end, we found out that we are all part of this Lebanon, and maybe part of this world.
And creating
and
the
that
beast.
At a certain level, we should all live together for the future generations. So we have to start seeing the truth in the other's eyes also, not only in my own eyes. And to see, now, if anything happens in the north of Lebanon or in the south, a shelling or something or an incident, you know what I think? I say, how will my friend from the north see this incident?
Exactly.
And I want to adopt and to adapt my
Yourself.
own vision according to what he sees it also. Not to become like him, but to understand more what he sees it, so that we can come into a common understanding.
Yeah, Mr. Assaad, I'll have to take the word to Ms. Aliaa. Ms. Aliaa, we have 1 minute. I need final words from you, especially about Syria, the future of Syria. What do you hope for?
Well, of course, I hope like everything should stop soon. But first, we have to really focus on fighting terrorism and fighting armed militias, because when your house is on fire, it's very hard for you to do any reforms. And back to Mr. Assaad, there's a saying, a similar saying by Imam Ali to his, to what he said, to his words, that if a person is not your brother in religion, he or she is definitely your brother and sister in humanity. So the focus on humanity is more than the focus on sharing religious beliefs.
Thank you, Aliaa. Thank you, Aliaa Mahfouz, political activist from Syria, for joining us, and also Mr. Assaad. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Going through the notion of religious intelligence, I would wish all our brothers and sisters celebrating Christmas today on the Oriental calendar, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, ladies and gentlemen, to you. See you next week. Bye-bye.